Ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to the Price Check Podcast here on the In the Zone Network, where we go city to city, state to state, worldwide. Today, we got to take a trip out west, man. Western Conference in the NBA is, just all kinds of moving parts. You got teams changing positions by the game. You got a lot of teams looking to move up the standings. You got some teams unexpectedly taking some falls back into the standings. So we're going to look at it specifically from the perspective of three teams today: Lakers, Suns, and Grizzlies. Now, of course, we can kind of tie two of those in here to start, right? Lakers and Grizzlies coming off a pretty epic game last night where the Lakers get a much-needed 112-103 victory against the Grizzlies. Now, mind you, no Ja Morant for the Grizzlies. We'll get to that situation in just a second. Also, again, no LeBron James, no D'Angelo Russell for the Lakers. Now, D'Angelo Russell, good news for the Lakers. He is expected to be back for their game here Friday against the Raptors. But the story of the game last night really is Anthony Davis, man. Anthony Davis has been lights out all season, really, when LeBron hasn't played and has had to step up and kind of lift up the guys around him. But last night was even more incredible than some of those previous games, man. 30 points, 22 rebounds, 2 blocks, 11 of 17 from the field. MVP caliber type of, performance there. He's doing everything for him. He's being a reliable big man that you expected him to be when the Lakers traded for him, and he's kind of taking that torch right now and carrying the team when they really need it the most. Now, other big thing about that win last night for the Lakers is that it does put them now in the 9th position in the Western Conference, which they had been on the outside of that play-in looking in. Now they are firmly in the play-in mix, about half game ahead of a group of teams: Pelicans, Jazz, and Thunder in 11, 12, and 13. But Lakers get a big win. Grizzlies, on the other hand, taking a little bit of a slide, right? We've seen the games that they play without Ja Morant this year. They usually are able to kind of hang in and still keep them close. Lately, though, they were already sliding with Ja. Now, without him in the lineup, it's been a little bit of a tougher task for them in recent games, losing to both the LA teams in their last 2 games. You mentioned the Lakers lost last night, and Clippers went on a 24-2 run late in that game to come back and get a win against them on Sunday. So, we mentioned Ja Morant. He's been in the news here recently with what is now, I guess, like his 4th or 5th alleged gun situation here with the IG Live video that surfaced Saturday night into Sunday morning. Team had a road game in Denver that they played. Of course, after that game, Ja was seen with 22 in the strip club with his shirt off and all that. I get a lot of people kind of wondering what's going on. I don't want to speculate on the situation, don't want to assume anything. Ja right now is, I guess, suspended. He's away from the team. They haven't, they've kind of tiptoed around calling it a suspension, what have you. But nonetheless, he's away from the team indefinitely. So what does that mean for their playoff hopes? Well, they've already now dropped into a tie with the Sacramento Kings for the 2nd seed in the Western Conference. That's a big development. Here's why that is. One, if you're looking at, making a long playoff run, one, you want to have Ja Morant with you, but you also want to have, home court advantage in that second round series, especially if you're not going to get home court advantage throughout the entire playoffs, given the way that Denver is running away with the Western Conference in the regular season right now. So now you're dropping into a spot where you may not have home court in that second round series if you would see a 2-3 matchup between them and what is Sacramento Kings. Crazy story right now. Like the beam for the folks in Sacramento. But now in a second place tie, well, I guess Sacramento holds the tiebreaker. So now 3rd seed in the West if you're the Memphis Grizzlies. You also got a Phoenix Suns team, which of course we're going to talk about here in a second, creeping up 2.5 games behind both Sacramento and Memphis right now. Now, Memphis, don't want to give up that seeding, but then you think about having to play, right now what would be the 6th seed Golden State Warriors if the playoffs started today. Not really the matchup you want to go into. team that has already beaten Memphis in the playoffs last year. You also don't want to go into that matchup without potentially having your star player, which we don't know when we're going to see Ja at this point. He's obviously got some things that he's trying to deal with both personally and potentially legally now with the Colorado police looking into the gun incident in the strip club here last weekend. So a lot of things going on for Memphis, really just not seeming like their year at this point. I know a lot was made about their playoff hopes, Ja saying, I'm fine in the West. Since those comments, things have kind of trended downhill for them as a team. So really interested to see how that entire situation plays out. Obviously hoping the best for Ja, as well as the Grizzlies, honestly. But, a lot that's going to have to shake out for them in order to get the shit righted and moving in the right direction come playoff time. So now, talked about the Grizzlies. We talked about the Lakers game. Now, the Lakers, of course, are moving up in the standings. We still don't know just yet when we're going to get LeBron James back. Going to be reevaluated in 3 weeks, which was, as of about this time last week. They're going to be dangerous if and when he does come back, especially with the way Anthony Davis is playing right now. Now, we mentioned he's been kind of going off all year long without LeBron. These last 5 games specifically for Anthony Davis. Now, a couple of these were with LeBron, but last night, 30 points, 22 rebounds. Previous game, 39 points, 8 rebounds, 2 blocks. 38 points, 5 rebounds, 2 blocks. 38 points, 19 rebounds, 5 blocks. 30 points, 15 rebounds, and 3 blocks. So last 5 games, he's been outstanding. The Lakers are starting to creep up and starting to put a little bit of pressure on the teams in front of them in the standings. So right now, of course, we mentioned it there, the 9 seed. Game and a half behind both Minnesota and the Clippers, who both sit in 7 and 8 right now, kind of tied with the same record, both of them being a half game behind Golden State, sitting at 6. So a lot of teams bunched up right now, a lot of teams jockeying for position. Now, one team that is above that pack, the Phoenix Suns. Got to talk about Phoenix. They are now undefeated, 3-0 since Kevin Durant has entered their lineup. It's pretty scary looking at them two on offense, and those two being Kevin Durant and Devin Booker. Now, we know Kevin Durant is a bad man. Devin Booker, though, since Kevin Durant has been in the lineup, 37 points against the Hornets, 35 points against the Bulls, and another 36 on Sunday in a game against Dallas. They got pretty, chippy between him and Luka Doncic. We saw, a little bit of, smack being talked between those two back and forth, both of which had incredible games. But Devin Booker has been lights out, being able to take some of that pressure not only off of KD, but now having KD taking some of that pressure off of him to where, if Devin Booker is your second best scorer on a given night, that's pretty amazing when you look at the rest of the teams in the Western Conference. And, we talk about today's NBA, you need wings, defenders, versatile guys who can switch. The teams out West don't really have multiple guys to throw at both him and Kevin Durant. We saw that on Sunday with Dallas. Of course, Dallas already being a little bit shorthanded from a defensive standpoint, given what they had to give up to get Kyrie Irving in the building. But I think all in all, this Suns team is going to be a team that is going to not only put up buckets, but they're going to be a tough out. Now, the way things are shaking up for them, of course, we mentioned they are about 2.5 games behind both the Kings in their division and for the conference, but also behind Memphis as well. Now, if they stay locked into that 4 seed, we've got two really strong outcomes in terms of a 4-5 matchup that's going to be possible for the playoffs. Now, the first one, same game that we saw on Sunday, Suns versus Mavericks, 4-5 in the first round. We already know what kind of series that's going to be with the way that Luka and Devin Booker are going back and forth, but you also add the KD and Kyrie element to that series. That would be a hell of a playoff matchup. You also have the potential of having the Phoenix Suns and Golden State Warriors in a 4-5 matchup to start the playoffs, which, getting KD to go against the team that he obviously left in free agency a few years ago, that's going to be a storyline within itself. How they defend KD, how Phoenix defends Steph Curry and Golden State, given what KD may know about that situation. So all in all, a lot of storylines that could potentially come out of those playoff series. Now, looking at the West as a whole, the Nuggets, I think this is a bad development for them. Nuggets have been great all regular season long. Nikola Jokic, of course, right now still the front runner for MVP for the third straight year. But the problem for them is this. If you're that one seed and you got to face the 4 or 5 coming out of that first round, yeah, okay, I may be okay with facing Dallas if I'm Denver. But I don't want to see any parts of Phoenix or Golden State until the conference finals if I can help it. So, especially Phoenix with the way that they're playing with Kevin Durant, the scoring punch that he adds for that team alongside Devin Booker. I don't think that that's something that Denver is necessarily the best equipped to handle, especially with, them being able to, I guess Phoenix being able to guard Jokic one-on-one with DeAndre Ayton. They've got some different ways that they can switch those lineups around now. Phoenix does have, a little bit thinner rotation. They've got some role guys they still have some questions about. We saw a lot of Josh Okogie, a lot of Ish Wainwright, those types of guys playing in that 5th spot alongside Booker, Paul, KD, and Ayton. But I think they've got time to kind of get some confidence in some of those guys. We're probably too far along from a buyout standpoint to add anybody to the roster, but I do think that, potential matchups, Suns, Nuggets in the second round, just don't see how that goes in Denver's favor, even with the reigning MVP on their team. So, you look at the bottom of the Western Conference and some of those matchups that may have to play out. Of course, the Lakers are looking to move up. You've got, Timberwolves potentially waiting there as well, which, we'll see if and when Karl-Anthony Towns comes back, how that might impact their team. Still a lot of moving parts there as well. But specifically for these 3 teams, Lakers, Grizzlies, Suns, you got the Suns moving up and trying to force the hand there of the Kings and Grizzlies. You got the Lakers trending upwards, of course. Next 3 games for them are going to tell a lot. They've got the Raptors at home as well as the Knicks at home on Sunday before going to New Orleans on Tuesday to face a reeling Pelicans team that has not played their best basketball as of late either. So things trending up for both of those teams, but the Grizzlies definitely falling back to the pack. So still a lot of storyline that we're going to see here over the course of the next few games here in the Western Conference. We're really hitting crunch time right now. Not a whole lot of time left in the season, man. About 15 or so games for a lot of these teams. Very interested to see what happens once LeBron gets back for the Lakers and how that may potentially help their chances at getting to their goal of reaching the 6th seed, which, again, they're not too far behind it, man. They're about 2 games out of that 6th seed right now. And also got a big win on Sunday against the current team in that 6th spot, which is Golden State. So the Western Conference, man, living up to the reputation. They always a lot of star power, a lot of storylines that are coming out. Now you got a couple of big Western Conference matchups here tonight, Wednesday in the NBA. 2 that really really is shorter slate. So the only 2 that kind of really matter from a playoff standpoint with teams that are both in the conference. You got the Mavericks going to New Orleans to face the Pelicans. Both of those teams needing wins at this point to kind of maintain their current standing. Now, Pelicans, again, have not been playing their best basketball at all as of late. They've been without Zion Williamson, which right now we're not sure when he's going to come back. Apparently, the setback that he had with his hamstring injury, pretty significant. So we'll see if he can get back in the lineup. And even with Brandon Ingram and CJ McCollum, that is a team that has been struggling here in the second half of the season. Mavericks, we talked about them. They've had a couple tough losses here with Luka and Kyrie. Even having that 1-2 punch has kind of left them a little bit shorthanded. But I do think that's a win that they can go into New Orleans and get and try to keep themselves in that 5 to 6 seed range versus falling back into the play-in. You also have the OKC Thunder going to Phoenix. Phoenix team, we talked about how they're rolling right now. I do think they're going to win that game against the Thunder, but the Thunder, again, right there on the outside looking in on the play-in mix, win tonight would do them very well in terms of being able to get to that 10th spot. So also you have the Portland Trailblazers going to Boston. Now, obviously, Boston is in the East, not in the Western Conference, but a game that Portland absolutely needs as well for their playoff chances moving forward. So we'll see how some of these things shake out, man. It's a lot that is going on in the Western Conference, a lot of intrigue, a lot of interesting matchups that could take place here as we get through the remainder of the regular season. Now, One thing that we do have to also mention that is not NBA related, but also basketball related here before we go, my alma mater, Southeast Missouri State Redhawks. Go SEMO. Team has made it to the big dance. We're going to have March Madness playing. Cue up the future. We got March Madness playing all month for them. They are going to the NCAA tournament for the first time in 23 seasons, man. So big shout out to my school. We rooting for y'all, man. Got to keep that winning going at this point. It's, of course, now one and done. But until next time, man, Price Check is back. We are going to next probably talk about what's shaking out East, because I've got some thoughts about some of those Eastern Conference teams, both at the top as well as some teams that are looking forward to next year as opposed to the playoffs. But until then, man, this has been Josh Price here on the In the Zone Network Price Check Podcast. Check it out.